outside in the old school. The new me back with the OU. The dog always find his way back home, and it's so true. Later on, fall through and pop one. You know the motto, smoke something, drink something, pop one.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Slime. As always, I'm joined by Diego Pizarro.
Hello, everybody.
And this week, the long-anticipated Ahsoka series has arrived. Well, it arrived last week. And we want to talk about it today because it's a pretty big show for Star Wars fans. And me and Diego do have two different opinions on it because you haven't watched Star Wars Rebels, right?
I did, and it was
Oh, you
good.
did.
I just
Okay.
I didn't keep up with it, and I don't really have an excuse because it was well done.
Okay. Well, Ahsoka is more or less a continuation of the Rebels storyline, and Rebels is probably one of my favorite Star Wars show out of all the shows and movies. Rebels is one of my favorites. Um, and Ahsoka captures the essence of that show a lot and continues the story. And I do have a lot good things to say about the Ahsoka show. I'm receiving it well. Not everybody is though. So let me know. Tell me what your thoughts. Tell me what you're thinking of it so far.
I'm just not I'm not feeling it too much. I'll be
You're not
honest.
feeling it. Why? Is it just because you're drained of like the Star Wars
That's
content?
definitely part of it. I mean, I was excited for this, but I just it just felt like a lot. Okay, so you turn on the thing, and I will say the set design is a little cooler. There's a bit more variety, but to me, it just still looks kind of gray and washed out. And the
Sure.
camera work is very off an assembly line, which is going to happen when you do a TV show, I guess. But and it has the same kind of Mandalorian style opening with a little soundtrack, which I guess if they're doing a theme is fine. But I don't know, it just felt like checking all the boxes. Uh, and how
Yeah,
in
I can
depth
see that.
and there were certain plot points where just things don't hold weight anymore because it's just been done before, and it's just like I already know
Yeah,
what's
that's
going to
true.
happen.
That's true. They're doing a lot of filling in the gaps right now
Mhm.
because in between trilogies and in between shows, there's a lot of time that is unaccounted for. And Ahsoka takes place after Return of the Jedi. And between
Mhm.
Return of the Jedi and the new trilogy, there's like 20 years there that we just don't know really what happens. And Ahsoka's kind of starting to fill that out. But I personally see that as an era for them to tell new stories, like
Mhm.
stories that necessarily don't have anything to do with the Skywalker story. Um, so I'm optimistic about that. And I think the show does capture the tone of Rebels quite well. Um, but like it's a classic kind of story of master and apprentice chasing a huge evil force that the government is too ignorant to pursue. It's pretty simple, and I mean, the plot is pretty simple, and it's easy to see where it's going, and I'm just enjoying it. Maybe it's because I'm a fanboy, and I just like seeing these animated characters appear in live action. Maybe that's kind of tainting my view of it. Um,
Well, you see, people say that, right? And I will admit, Star Wars Rebels was good, and people enjoy seeing these animated characters. But then it's like, why not just do it as an animated show? I feel like it
right.
would have worked
Yeah.
better, but I guess it has to be big and has to bring some attention. But
Yeah.
I just didn't feel this was necessary as like a live action thing. It just didn't do it for me. And I wanted to dive into like one major plot point that happens in the first two episodes. You're
Sure.
talking about an example of just checking all the same boxes. Like when Sabine Wren gets stabbed with the lightsaber at the end of episode 2, I think it is. And it's just I don't care. Like, who cares? They made this, or
Yeah.
it's episode 1 even. It's episode 1. It's like episode 1. I just met this character. You're trying to do this stupid. Is she gonna die? Even though we know like somebody getting stabbed with a lightsaber means absolutely
Well,
nothing.
once she gets stabbed, I immediately knew she wasn't gonna die.
Yeah, and they make out like, oh, it's her dying breath. and all this stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, you're gonna kill off a character that you
Yeah.
introduced me to like 20 minutes ago, and
Yeah.
you're gonna have this dramatic. It just seems dumb. And
Well, they're telling this big story of she is not a candidate to become a Jedi, and
mhm.
she's not necessarily force sensitive, and it just keeps failing and failing, and she isn't living up to people's expectations. And I think that's kind of refreshing.
Cool.
When it comes to Star Wars, I mean, we met Anakin, who's the chosen one, and Luke, who did struggle, like in Empire. Maybe this is reminiscent of Empire Strikes Back, where Luke gets his ass kicked, but Rey had everything handed to her. There was no struggle with Rey, and so it's kind of nice to see that with Sabine. And I don't know, it's just interesting to see Ahsoka in this light as a master, because Ahsoka's quite old now, and she's battle hardened. She's older. She's wise. She's lived through the Clone Wars, um, and lived through another war. So I'm just it's just as new to me, and this is what I want. I think I'm enjoying it more than The Mandalorian. It might be crazy,
Oh, it
but
was
I
definitely better than the most recent season
for
so
sure,
far.
for sure. But even the older seasons of Mandalorian, like I think I just like this just as much, maybe just because I'm a Rebels fan. For people who aren't into Rebels as much, I understand how they'll see this as just more of the same. Um, but this story, I think, is more worth telling than whatever story we got in the book of Boba Fett. Um, because this is the beginning of a big story they're telling. This whole Thrawn thing is going to be this is leading up to show us how the First Order came into power.
Mhm.
And this whole Thrawn thing is going to lead to a Thrawn movie. So they're setting up a new movie and new shows that are all going to come together, that will explain how the First Order came into power. And I'm excited for that personally. So, what do you think?
How caught up are you? You were freezing.
Yeah,
Uh,
fuck.
okay. Well, all right. Just pick
I
up from
got
where
you.
you were.
I got you. Yeah, these shows are going to lead into a Thrawn movie, which is an adaptation of the old books, Heir to the Empire. So, and it's going to explain how the First Order came into power, which is a big gap in the story that needs to be told, right? Maybe it's becoming a little too congested now, but um, I'm welcoming it. Maybe I'm just loving it a lot because I'm a Rebels fan.
No, it's better. There's an improvement. I'll give it that, and I'll accept that half of it is just I don't have a lot of interest in it anymore. But there's
Yeah.
certainly things that are better. And I will say, like the opening few scenes when the Sith first board the ship and all that, I thought that was pretty cool. It felt like Star Wars, way more than
Yeah.
any of these shows have. And it's it is interesting to see Ahsoka's more stoic and level-headed and just a lot more laid back. Um,
Yeah.
I still think there's a bit of the humor style that I don't like in it a bit, but
Yeah.
that's a minor complaint. I feel like a lot of it is for me, it's just I've kind of lost interest, but I will admit that it's better, and maybe I should stick with it because of that. But
I think
uh
it's more of like an organized story. I think it's a lot more organized. And I don't think there's going to be many like side quests and filler episodes. I think it's going in a straight path story-wise,
mhm.
um, which is refreshing because a lot of these shows, they're headed towards the like main objective and they go off and they do other side quests and whatnot. I don't think we're going to get that in this show. I think it's going to continue to move in a straight line, and each episode is going to slowly progress the plot forward. I've seen that so far out of the 3 episodes.
And I just get a bit worried with we have to find the Eye of Zion, which leads to this thing and goes to this thing, and we
Yeah.
we see her do the Indiana Jones style thing at the trap where the floor lowers down in the
Yeah.
first episode, which just felt so slow, painfully slow. Especially that's, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then we get the star map display, and I don't, for some reason, some of the acting didn't jive with me either. Some of it. I'm not just,
Morgan
they were annoying
Elsbeth,
me.
the Night Sister, Morgan Elsbeth, isn't really jiving with me a lot. Um, she seems off. I don't know what it is. But I don't know. I'm a fan of these characters, especially they're not Sith, but the antagonists of the series. Their names are slipping right now, but I'm quite interested in them. I don't know. This show just hooked me, to be honest. The first 2 episodes hooked me. Um, and I wanted to watch episode 3 right when it dropped. So I'm pretty optimistic and I'm liking it. Now, not everybody feels the same. A lot of people online are hating it and hating on it a lot. Let me ask you this. I've seen a lot of people like purists, they're not happy with the show and they're saying it's woke and feminist propaganda. And I don't really see that at all. I know there's a
No.
couple of female protagonists, but this is a continuation of arcs that were already made and already established and already set up in previous shows. And I think they're doing it justice. I don't see it as propaganda at all or strong female leads. I just think this is where the show was meant to go. I just feel like they're doing it properly, in my opinion.
It's
It's
just
an
females.
Ahsoka show. What do you expect?
It's just females starring in a movie. I mean, in a show. Who cares? I don't.
It's
I
I
didn't.
don't get it.
Who
There's
cares?
fucking people purists. Like
It's
they look for this stuff everywhere they can, and I didn't have that thought once whatsoever watching this show. And I sat through She-Hulk and hated it, and I knew that that was propaganda, but this is not that. Not at all. I don't think this was made with that intention at all. So I don't want to get
it
too
doesn't
into
feel.
that, but
No, it doesn't. It's just females. It's strong females starring in strong roles, and that's great. And it doesn't feel
which Star Wars
like
has
let's
always had.
yeah, and let's not look. I don't like propaganda allows people to use it against you. What I'd just rather say is when what they were trying to do with Ray, for example, that was just trying to appeal marketing wise
Yeah.
to certain political issues that are being brought up in our time, which I don't like. I don't need to be preached to.
Yeah.
I know what I believe is the right side of those issues, and yeah, strong women should be allowed in strong roles. But this just does it. It's a story. It shows them as strong, and it's fine. Ray
Yeah.
felt like it's trying to pander. Right? I don't want pandering. Right?
Yeah.
We just want strong females, and females don't want to be pandered to, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
So this is done with a lot more class.
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah.
Ray is very blatant to the focus group said, oh, strong women are really in right now, and we want to appeal to the younger female demographic, so we want to have her kind of overpowered, and this one just felt like, all right, this story calls to have a strong female character. Let's do it. This is, be a good role model, and boom, just write a good story. So as much misgivings as I have, this is an improvement.
Yeah. So far, like, there isn't any bullshit, really. Like, and I've been enjoying that. I've been enjoying seeing this like post-Empire world, seeing how the New Republic is taking control of the galaxy, and we see they're not doing a very good job. A lot of former Imperials end up just working for the New Republic, and they're not necessarily loyal. I think that's cool. Those are things that was introduced in some other shows, but there's a huge, deep universe here, and this show's going into the lore and all that really well. So, like, they've done their homework, that's for sure.
And it brings a bit more of the fantasy element, which I like.
It does. It does.
Like the Eye of Zion and the witches and like all that kind of stuff. I mean, I would like to see some settings in like a forest. I like when she first showed up in The Mandalorian.
Yeah,
I
think
like
we'll
to
get
see
that next episode.
I want if I keep watching this, like that would be nice to have just feel even more like a bit of a fairy tale side, not if in the right way, if you catch what I mean.
I do. I like the diverse. That's what Star Wars is known for.
Yeah, that's definitely a big part of that's a significant part of what makes Star Wars great is the fantasy element. I mean, there's the sci-fi element, and then there's just the straight up popcorn action movie
Yeah,
element to
yeah,
it. I feel like we've gone a bit far in one direction, and bringing back that kind of fantasy aspect, as I said a million times, I think would be cool. So yeah, I'm trying to remain calm on Ahsoka. I'm not mad
it
really
hasn't. I don't think
anymore.
it's done anything wrong. Um, it's what I've, as a Rebels fan, as a Clone Wars fan, um, as a longtime fan, and someone who has, I wasn't a big fan of the Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian season 3. I wasn't a big fan of. While I understand Andor was a great show, it was a little too slow for me. Just really wasn't what I enjoyed. I understand there are people who love it, but there are things in Star Wars that I love, and there are things in Star Wars that I don't enjoy. And this just happens to be one of the things that I do enjoy. Um,
And
everyone
yeah,
has different opinions. That's fine, but this is just working for me.
I just felt I was kind of bored. And I don't know. I think part of it is, as we talked about many times, right? Action movies are basically all there is now
Yeah,
in popular movies. And when I was a kid and teenager, somewhat, I really enjoyed going to action movies all the time, right? Because it felt more special. That wasn't all there was. It felt like that was the alternative to the regular boring adult rom-coms and
yeah,
dramas and whatever. But now it's flipped. So now maybe my brain is just kind of like, now I want to see the mid-budget, low budget stuff.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
bit more I don't know, just a bit more grounded, I guess. I don't know.
I
That's kind
totally
of where
get that. I
I'm at.
go through that phase sometimes too, where like I want to see like obscure off-brand movies and shows. And this is about as big budget as you can get, and people necessarily aren't receiving that as well as they used to. A lot of people see through that stuff now.
I just feel like there's so much of it now, and there's been so much of it for so
I
long,
agree.
where all of it just feels the same. And as good as it could get at this point, I just feel like it would be hard for me to take an interest, just because it would feel like something I've already watched. Like,
Yeah.
as much as an improvement as Ahsoka is, it just doesn't feel fresh. Too fresh. Like, it's fresh within the context of Star Wars,
For me,
but
it's fresh but similar.
well, it's fresh within the context of Star Wars. But as far as what I've been watching in the past 10 years,
Sure.
it
I
doesn't
got
feel
you
as
there.
fresh,
I got you
right?
there.
Whereas if I can transition a bit into something else, if we
Yeah.
want to talk about another show, like I watched Painkiller, that mini
Yeah.
series
Yeah.
on
Yeah. Yeah.
Netflix, and there's a lot of those style shows going on right now. I'm not saying, but
Yeah.
that's just more kind of what I'm into right now, and it just felt a lot more interesting and compelling, and it just felt like they tried things that I hadn't seen done as much.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about it a bit because if you haven't seen it, you really should. Ferris Bueller plays the main villain, basically
Oh,
the head
really?
of Purdue. This kind of quiet, very just holds his cards close to his chest type of guy. So not a
Okay.
loud over the top villain. And I'm blanking on his name, but the guy who played Ferris Bueller plays it brilliantly. He's just a great performance. And the show is, to me, is one of the most respectful biography shows that's covering like some tragic event. Every episode opens with families who are actually affected
Really?
by the opioid crisis talking about their loved one that they lost, and you see people
Wow.
like almost breaking down. And the story and how it's told is, it's basically like 3 or 4 different stories, right? So you see it from the
Yeah.
Sacklers' perspectives, who run Purdue and released oxycodone into the market, scumbags they are, and creating an epidemic that we're still dealing with now here in
Yeah.
Canada and the United States, a lot of. And then you also get another story from one of the girls they hired to sell the drug, because in the States you can market to doctors. So they hired all these hot girls to go around and sell the
Oh, what
drugs
the
to
hell?
doctors. Yeah. So you see one story from her perspective and like the guilt she deals with, but also how much she benefited off it. And then you see a story of a family whose lives are just completely destroyed
Yeah.
by the drug. So I
And
mean,
and those stories and those shows are like really important in terms of like media. Like those are things that will help you understand the weight of these situations because the shows make you feel something.
Yeah.
You know, and like fictional shows and whatnot, like Ahsoka, like in The Mandalorian and all that, they don't really make me feel a lot, and they don't really change my view on the world whatsoever. That's more so an escape. They're polar opposite things, but I'd love to see a fictional story that carries the weight of something like this Painkiller series. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then they do a great job, all those stories going on, but the other story they're telling is the woman who went after the opioid companies and started to get them prosecuted. And she acts as kind of the narrator that's keeping all these stories organized, and it's so well done. And there's one great visual I want to say, that's so awesome. So there's one scene where, so now they're really starting to rake in the cash from the sales of this opiate after it gets approved and everything, because it's basically heroin in pill form, right? To rake in the money. And it shows these old white guys and like a big, you know, fat, average looking white dude, kind of looks like us, and he's in a pool with these models in bikinis, like jumping in the pool and drinking, and it's just the old guys dancing in their plate of gold apartment, and it's playing rap music, and it's showing like these guys are just fucking gangsters, and they do the exact same shit that all these people did on the streets, that tons of people, mostly minorities, are in prison for, and these guys are just the same. And
what
using
a crazy
that kind of
parallel.
and just using that music over them is like, it's, to me, was a great visual and just kind of sums it all up as to who those people are.
Yeah, when you're originally telling me about this, like, it just seems like there is a lot of creativity going into the production and a lot of thought going into like the cinematography and how the show is put together.
And symbolism.
And we need more of that. We need more of that.
It's just refreshing in this market, you know. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, the next thing we're going to get sick of is brand movies. I just saw the Ferrari trailer. You know, so there's going to be a tidal wave of those coming out. But I just love these kind of miniseries. I just love miniseries, period. It's pretty much my favorite format at this point.
And the thing is, man, it's hard to catch some of these sometimes because Netflix is pumping out show after show, series after series, movie after movie now. Like next to 100% of Netflix earnings goes right back into production and funding for new shows and movies, documentaries and series. And there's always something new on Netflix now every single day. So it's good to hear for a recommendation for anybody who's looking for something new. A lot of people are getting tired of Netflix and wanting to cancel their subscription, but there's some things to catch. Yeah,
I'm not. I've never felt like Netflix was that bad.
Me too. I agree.
It's never like, there's been times where it hasn't been that great and there's its issues, but they're off just how well their service works. They're still the best. Like, you know, the Crave here in Canada may have a stronger library for us, but it doesn't work well, you know, as well as Netflix does.
As a platform, it's shitty.
Yeah, and you know, Netflix has a great to decent, you know, decent to great library, and it works consistently pretty much all the time. Easy to find stuff. So I don't know. I also think, but I think streaming has affected how I feel about things now, because I noticed I've spent years now. How long have we had streaming services now? Like in our regular lives, like over 10 years. So
at least a decade or more.
After a decade of binge watching and just, you know, having comfort shows and watching the same thing over and over again. And then outside in the movie world, as we're going to rant about again, you know, just all the franchises, all that stuff, right? After dealing with a lot of that repetitiveness for so many years, and a lot of it's self-imposed, because God knows I've watched How I Met Your Mother how many fucking times.
Exactly.
Right. But I feel like it's making me to the point now where I start to get sick of shows after like 2 seasons. I really only want to watch something
ourselves, right?
Once, and then that's done. I don't want to be spent time. Like, even I'm watching Ricky Gervais sitcom, not sitcom.
I heard about
horrible
that.
Word for me, not sitcom, but like his show Afterlife, right? And he did 2 seasons, and then it got a lot of response, so he did a 3rd season as a favor. The first 2 seasons are amazing. painful show, sad show, but it's beautiful. That's all I'm gonna say. And the third season, it's good. I don't want to diss Ricky Gervais. He's a really talented guy. I like him a lot, and it was good. But it didn't hold my attention, and to me, it wasn't as good as those first 2 seasons. And to me, it's just kind of like, let's just leave it there. And I'm starting to feel like that more often. Like, I don't really want more of something. I'm kind of like,
Yeah,
let's just have this
enough
quick
is
run.
enough, man.
Yeah,
You know,
leave me wanting more, and that's it. That's, and then I'll move
whatever
on to the
happened to
next thing.
ending on a high note?
Yeah,
It's
and
just
then
when
that's
things
it.
become about money, things end when they hit a decline, and it's about foreseeing the decline and ending your show before it hits its decline, because it taints the memory of the show, you know.
And now I'm just more like, if a great new movie comes out and then people start wondering about a sequel, like, I'm just gonna be like, fuck the sequel. I don't care. I don't care anymore. I don't, because streaming is
we
just,
all would have
that's,
lived without there's a Joker sequel coming out, and I would have been perfectly fine and happy without it. We don't
no,
need
like,
it.
I don't give a shit. Like, I
Yeah,
just don't care. Like, but it's self-imposed, because I'm agreeing now. I'm kind of moving too far in the other direction. I'm not against franchise or anything, but me personally at this point, it's just like, after binge watching for 10 years, I just kind of want to watch something for a bit and
for
move
sure.
on. And that's it. I don't want to stick to anything too long. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I actually don't watch much anymore. I don't watch much TV anymore. I haven't been watching much of anything recently.
I literally just find maybe one, two, or one, mostly one, two, or maybe 3 shows, and that's the only thing I watch if it's TV ever. That's it, barely even, and that's all I focus on. And once I'm done with them, either move on to the next thing, or there's a bit of a gap, like I said. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I've been doing a lot of gaming and a lot of watching YouTube. YouTube will never get old.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then
that's the best platform, if you ask me.
Oh, it is. It's still a great website. I've heard people say like, "Oh, I associate YouTube with teenage boys," and I'm like, "What?
What the
It's
fuck?
the greatest." There are people who think this, I guess, and I'm like, "This is the greatest website of all time." What do you like? It's literally, you can watch anything and everything. And I will say, it's not as good at recommending you stuff as it used to be, or at least personally, I noticed. Maybe that's my algorithm. I really get some days where I'm like,
nothing going on here. I don't even mine's doing well. I usually find things to watch on the homepage.
Yeah.
I don't find myself going through my subscriptions as often as I used to.
Well, I always find something because it's YouTube.
Yeah.
But I just find some weeks I'll be looking longer than others.
Yeah.
So, and then I don't remember that happening as much before, but like, because I just find you get a lot of repetitive recommendations now, way more than you used to, and stuff that,
because the algorithm is more aggressive.
Yeah,
now.
And it's stuff you've already watched.
Yeah,
a million times. I don't need to watch it again.
Yeah.
And if you watch one channel for like 2 days, every video by that channel is to get right.
That's what I mean by aggressive. Like it recognizes what you've been watching and immediately overloads your homepage with it. It becomes too much.
But despite all that, it's still amazing. It's still just a
is.
great website, and to watch anything and everything. And I don't get how someone could say like, oh, it's just, I mean, to each their own. That's cool. I mean,
and you just gotta respect it, like from a creator standpoint, like how accessible it is. Like me and you were able to start this show, and we're able to just throw it up on YouTube every single week. Anybody can create content and put it on YouTube, and for that, I'm grateful.
But subscriptions too, though. That is fair. I do find myself going through subscriptions less, and I find there's like the handful of, and I find I always have a strong handful of people that I'm always following that I like to support. But I think I get more selective with my subscriptions now than I used to be.
Me too.
There's people though that I've been supporting and that I've been watching for like 10 years, right? And
it's always I'm
even if
there too.
Like there's a guy, I've been watching him since like 2013, so like 10 years this year. And I'll be honest, like his content is I don't enjoy it as much as I used to, but I'll always stay subscribed and I'll always watch his stuff every now and then, just out of like
Got the
respect,
loyalty.
out of support, but I don't watch
Yeah.
everything anymore. But yeah. So anyway, I don't know where you're going with that. But YouTube rules.
But yeah, YouTube
Watch Painkiller
rules.
and
Watch
Ahsoka. Give it a
Painkiller
shot.
and Ahsoka. And look, if you don't like it, you don't have to watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a big deal, but just know if you don't like it, that doesn't mean it's bad, because there are people out there that do, and people that enjoy it. Like myself, it just means it's something that hasn't jived with you well. You can't like everything. You can't. And stop fucking hating. It's not a good look. Hate
Well,
in silence, yo. You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
this has been going on for too long for me to get upset anymore. It's just kind of the way I
yeah,
look at it.
yeah.
Still bothers me, but it doesn't. But I can't get upset anymore because I know what to expect, right? So,
And this whole thing with fucking people hating and whatnot is like they spend all their time and energy convincing people who like this thing that it's bad. When in reality, why would you want to take that from them? If you don't like something, you should just discuss it with someone who also doesn't like it, so you could get it out,
Just go watch something else and then turn other people onto it, and hopefully that vote with your wallet, right? Hopefully, if you can get people into all the other cool shit you like instead of hating on the other stuff, maybe it'll eventually distract their attention away from all that crappy stuff.
For sure.
And I mean, the tide's going to turn eventually, naturally, whether people are already getting bored of a lot of the stuff we're complaining about. So slowly it seems like the tide's turning. So there's no need to hate. Just turn people onto cool shit and the tide will turn as it goes.
Completely agree. But yeah, guys, that's our review on Ahsoka so far. And Diego gave us a nice Netflix recommendation talking about streaming services and whatnot. So this episode 23. This has been episode 23 of The Slime. And we will catch you guys next week. We don't know if we'll have episode 24 next week, but we will have something for you to watch next week. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. See ya.
Bye.